Hey there, everybody. My name is Tom MTG Radio, and today is a good day because today we get to play some EDH. I'm actually going to bring to you a game with a deck that I really do like, and I kind of built for the express purpose of, while streaming, I get a lot of people saying it costs a lot to invest in EDH, or I've already invested a lot into Standard. How can I really get into this format? Well, here's your answer. This deck is explicitly made from cards that are just from Standard. That's right, it's a completely Standard legal EDH deck, and I actually think it's rather strong right now for the simple fact that Standard's really strong right now. This is being recorded with the most recent set being Theros, just for the record. So we're going to be playing some good old Prime Speaker Zegana, and the reason why I love Prime Speaker as our general in this deck is just because of how good she is at refilling the board or refilling your hand. And since we might be playing a little bit of lower quality spells, or we're not going to be able to play a Soul Ring, Prime Speaker lets us get right back into the game. So for 2 green, green, blue, blue, Prime Speaker is a 1/1 Merfolk Wizard that enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on her, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. Additionally, when she enters the battlefield, you draw cards equal to its power, which is just fantastic. Now we actually have a couple of very well. Smiley face. Put that over there. We actually have a couple of really cool decks we're playing against here. The first one that I want to mention is actually Slivers. Sliver Legion is our general for a top left player who's already rolled down a wing sliver. White, blue, black, red, and green for a legendary sliver. It's a 7/7. All sliver creatures get +1/+1 for each other sliver on the battlefield. Very, very, very strong ability. Now, if there is only one weakness in the sliver deck, is that it is 5 colors, and that is absolutely a crutch for the deck. If it can't get its lands out, it just loses the game pretty quickly. Right now, we do have an early 2-drop from this deck, so something to be a little bit scared of, but nothing we're really concerned about. We got to 4 mana early, and we could actually curse here, getting both the Goblin Warchief and Wing Sliver. We're going to wait on the Curse of this Wine. This is a card that I've been very, very, very happy with in the current Standard. I think it's amazing. Sorry, not Standard, in EDH right now. I think it's absolutely amazing. But this turn instead, we're going to lay down Master Biomancer. This is a card that I've had a lot of success with so far in Commander, a card that's in the current Standard, and it is very strong in general. Plus, it's a 2/4 in the face of this 2/2 Goblin Warchief, which is great. So Biomancer, 2 green blue for a mythic rare elf wizard. It's a 2/4. And each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it, equal to Master Biomancer's power, and as a mutant, it enters other types. Really do love Biomancer. I actually played it down early so we could play down Witchstalker as a 5/5 with Hexproof, which is going to be a good run blocker for the rest of the game, pretty much. And also lets us play Zegana, hopefully on the turn after, to draw, well, a large amount of cards. Ooh! Hivestone. Hivestone basically makes all your creature slivers. Usually not that relevant, but in this game it might actually be relevant. The only reason you play Hivestone in a sliver deck is you're playing non-sliver creatures, which is kind of rare because you're playing slivers. So we'll see where he goes with for this. But there's some more important cards on our top right player's board. The first one being Goblin Warchief. Goblin Warchief, 1 red, red. Goblin spells you control cost 1 less to cast, and Goblin creatures you control have haste. Very scary card to see on the battlefield early from our Krenko Mob Boss deck. 2 red, red for a legendary Goblin Warrior. Krenko is a 3/3. You can tap him to put X, 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of goblins you control. We may end up cursing next turn instead of playing Witchstalker, just to get rid of both Warchief, Siege Gang Commander, and Wing Sliver. I think turning them into boars is a little bit better for us than wait and get overrun by Krenko with haste. In fact, that's the play I was worried about last turn. So when playing against Krenko decks, there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind. The number one thing, honestly, this guy can overrun you like nobody else. Krenko does a very, very, very good job of pumping out a lot of Goblin tokens very quickly, and also being a very aggressive mono-red deck. There are a lot of very good legendary creatures at M13. Krenko, Odric, Yeva even, Talrand, and Neferox being the worst, but Krenko has definitely shown himself to be the best of that entire bunch. I'd even say better than Talrand. His ability is very synergistic with specific cards. Although he's not a shaman, him and Thornby Staff is amazing just because you get to constantly untap him for basically free with all these goblins. When playing against a goblin deck, the biggest thing you can do is getting rid of the enablers. And what I mean by that is, we already talked about Goblin War Chief being very good. It's already on the battlefield, making them cost one less and giving them haste. But mostly just ways to pump up the goblins. Don't get me wrong, it's very easy to get overrun by a horde of 1/1s, but you start at 40 life, so you get a couple of swings in, even if they got 12 dudes. You need to get rid of stuff like Goblin King, very scary, gives goblins +1/+1 to Mountain Walk. You need to get rid of cards like Adaptive Automaton, that'll give the goblins +1/+1. There's a lot of very good cards you have to keep in mind when playing against a Goblin deck, and just be careful of. Right now, he's got a lot of power that can swing in. He doesn't have to worry about him because he has Dolmen Gate out. This is a card from Lorwyn that I've always loved, and I'm actually very happy to see down because he's going to show how strong it is right here. For 2 mana, it's a rare artifact that prevents all combat damage to be dealt to attacking creatures you control. This lets you attack with impunity. Like, you don't care. Even if your opponents block, it doesn't matter. Your guys stay alive, their guys don't, which is really, really, really awesome. Again, explicitly only good in a aggro deck, and even then an aggro deck that swarms. You want to play Dolmen Gate in the type of deck that is doing exactly what this deck is doing, where you put a lot of creatures on the battlefield that are kind of small, but it'll let you keep all of them, which is awesome. If there's anything this Goblin deck can do, it's use all of those creatures, especially with Krenko. So that's what we're looking at here. We'll have to see what happens this turn. We have a Tariel deck, white, black, red, and 4 for a 4/7 legendary angel. It's got flying, it's just vigilant, and you can tap it. Choose a creature card at random from target opponent's graveyard. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Looks like he's just going to tap out and use F8. We're going to be using F8 a lot as well. What F8 is the key on Magic the Gathering Online that allows us to, as long as our lands are tapped and we can activate abilities for 0 or less past the turn without having to actually yield priority. It's a good way to speed up the game and something we'll be using constantly. Alright. I think getting rid of the Ward Chief and the Sieging Commander is important enough. No, the number one reason I want to do this is, honestly, because I don't want Krenko to come down with haste and give 6 1/1 Goblin tokens with haste. It's ridiculous and not something we want to allow to happen. Especially since our other opponents don't look like they're going to be doing anything about it, which is kind of sad. I actually kind of wanted to play Simic Keyrunes, so we could have definitely gotten down Prime Speaker sometime next turn. But with the current board state, let's ask Shalak if he's got an answer to this, actually. So what we're going to do... Oh. You... We're going to ask this guy if he has an answer for the goblins. Not currently. KK, I'll help. So it looks like he has a Wrath spell like on 7, maybe like on Chroma's Vengeance, or... Well, that wouldn't be 7. Maybe a hasted out route. But yeah, we're definitely going to go for what we have here, which is going to be to use Curse of the Swine on 3. We're going to turn Goblin War Chief, Siege Game Commander, and the Wing Sliver into boars, which is super fun. You, and you, please. We need a Voyaging Satyr, or I might have put it into a 2/2. Now, the amazing part about Curse of the Swine, the reason why I really do love it and hate it at the same time, first of all, it's exiling removal in blue. If there's anything that I've learned while playing the amount of Commander that I have, is that the graveyard shouldn't even be considered a zone. Most of the time, it's just like part of your hand. And with Curse of the Swine, you make sure that those cards don't keep coming back and killing you, which is awesome. It's probably one of the not the only, but one of the best parts about Curse of the Swine is that exile effect that it brings to a board. Very strong when playing against certain decks. And as you can see right here, we stopped Wing Sliver, so these guys no longer have flying. Our Goblin deck won't have haste anymore, so we're going to be doing pretty well from now on. Granted, we're going to take like 5 here, but it's still worth it. Actually, it's incredibly still worth it. Plus, I don't know if you can tell, but these boars are adorable as hell. Just just look at that pig. It's just so cute. It's so cute. Speaking of not cute though, we got some we got probably one of the better slivers out already. Heart Sliver. 1 and a red for a 1/1. All sliver creatures have haste. And Spine Sliver, blue and a red. A red and a green for a 2/2. Whenever a sliver becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature blocking it. So we have Goblin Sledder and Horde of Boggarts coming down. Really glad I got rid of that thing that gave these goblins haste. Sledder for a single red is a 1/1. You can sack a goblin to give target creature +1/+1. And Horde of Boggarts, 3 and a red for an XX. Its power interface for each equal number of red permanents you control, and it can't be blocked as hit by 2 or more creatures. He only has 5 red permanents. These are all going to come at us again, just kind of showcasing the power of Dolmen Gate. We're going to block a boar so we don't take the damage, but we're still going to take 5 here. A deserved 5, to be fair. Oh wait, they're not all coming at us. Oh, that's nice. We'll block a boar. So we'll only take 2. Sherlock will take 3. So the last deck we are playing against is that Tariel deck I mentioned before. It's a 4/7 with Flying and Vigilance, and you can choose a creature card at random from target opponent's graveyard to put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Tariel is actually a very... Is it any creature? Target creature gets +1/+1. Oof. We're going to lose Master Biomancer. I should have read Goblin Stutter all the way. Although, to be fair, I would have made this block anyways. I know we're going to lose our Master Biomancer, but I feel as though getting rid of 2 Goblins off the board against a Goblin Tribal deck is more important than keeping a 2/4 around. Master Biomancer would have been good for our Witchstalker coming down next. It would have been a 5/5. But if we draw land... we'll see what happens here. We may still just go like land Witchstalker, just for a 3/3 the hexproof. But we decrease the amount of red permanents on the battlefield. Hoarder Boggers is a 3/3. I'm kind of okay with how that turn panned out. It sucks. We lost our Master Biomancer, but overall, as far as the current board state is concerned, it's not the worst for us. So speaking more about the Tariel deck, which is on our bottom right, he actually gave this guy access to black with that Urborg. What are we scared of from this deck? And to be honest, it's black, red, white, so it's going to, of course... One sec, guys. So I do run a clan MTGO, and if you're wondering what a clan is, it's actually really not much. Basically, it gives you your own directed chat, which is really awesome, and... I do have a clan on MTGO under the MTG Radio moniker. All you have to do is message me at Life with Llamas, and I'll be happy to have you come on in. Basically, the idea behind it is rather simple. The clan is used specifically for just basically finding EDH games, and if you like the 10-ticket challenge, also to find 10-ticket games, which is really cool. So again, if you want to become a part of the clan at MTGO, just message me at Life and Llamas, and I'll be happy to have you in. So we have 6 mana. I'm tempted to play Prime Speaker Zegana, but honestly, it would be a horrible idea. So instead, we have 2 choices. We can play an Arbor Colossus, or we can play like Simic Kirun, getting back Archaeomancer, playing Archaeomancer, getting back Curse of the Swine. Gonna give this guy a smiley face and put it to the side. I don't want to play... You don't really want to play Prime Speaker Zegana unless you have at least 2 creatures on the battlefield, and you don't have something to do with those creatures. It does kind of suck we don't have Master Biomancer here, because what I would have loved to have done would have been Simic Kirun into Witchstalker into Prime Speaker to draw a new hand, which would have been awesome. Not till tonight. Put that over there. Sorry about all the messages. Our opponent did Demonic Tutor on our bottom right to find the exact card he wants, which also means I don't really want to develop our board that much. So I do want to play the Simic Kirun. It does develop our board mana-wise, make sure we can still cast Prime Speaker next turn if we want to. And we are going to cast Witchstalker here. I don't think getting back Curse of the Swine is going to be as relevant. So we're going to cast Witchstalker. The Hexproof is going to be very important. It's actually just been a very great ability. And we're going to leave Voyaging Satyr back. It's a 1/2. We don't really need the extra mana right now. But we're going to be looking to play Prime Speaker soon. We're down to 2 cards in hand. We're a blue-green deck. That's unacceptable. So once again, this deck is playing specifically cards from the current standard, which includes Theros, Return to Ravnica, and M14. That's why we're playing a card like Simic Kirun. I'd rather play something like Simic Signet, but sometimes you just want a 2/3 crab with Hexproof. Not often, but sometimes you do. We don't. Ooh, very interesting. With this Hivestone, our boar here is also a sliver, so we have to keep in mind that if we block it, it will be a 3/3. So, I guess we're the only person really checking the growth of our top right player, but with a Demonic Tutor, I wouldn't be surprised if he found some way to wrath the board. Actually, I'd be very surprised if he didn't find a way to wrath the board. That's, again, why we put down Witchstalker instead of Arbor Colossus, though. Mass Hysteria giving all creatures haste. Ooh, baby! I love it. Again, that's the reason why we didn't play Arbor Colossus, though. Arbor Colossus is very relevant against Tariel. We can swat out of the sky whenever we want. It's going to be a very important ability for the future. Right now, it's not that important. Mass Hysteria, a rare from Mirrodin, gives all creatures haste. Great for a deck like Krenko. Right now, he is stuck on only 2 red, so we can't actually cast Krenko, which is definitely not something he wants to have happen. So we got our Horde of Boggarts heading on in to our top left player. Let's see if he decides against that. This is only a 4/4. I could see it going to our bottom right player, but let's see where he actually goes. What are you doing, Face Thief? What are you doing? As far as the current board, I like our position. Even though we only have 2 cards in hand, Prime Speaker comes down, lets us draw 4, which is really good. We also get a 4/4 now with haste, which is awesome. Okay, so we have this makes a lot more sense. I feel we're gonna have. Oh, this is going at us. Oh, darn it. Well, we're not blocking. We're gonna have the 2 boars going at our top left player, goblin going to our bottom right. We're gonna take 4. Whenever someone tutors, I always tend to attack them pretty mercilessly. Um, Not that tutors are bad. Sorry, that's not why. Just because it means that they got the perfect card for the situation, and I like to attack them before that card gets out of hand. It's just a personal preference, really. It's also possible that our opponent used Demonic Tutor to find a land, which turned into Sylvan Scrying. That's always my favorite thing is when my opponent says, "Oh, I need a Demonic Tutor for a land." It just makes me happy on the inside. Like, you deserve this. Congratulations. So let's see what our Tariel deck's going to go for here. He's got 4 floating. This could be something like Solemn Simulacrum. I have personally played against this deck before. I'm not going to reveal what he's trying to do really quickly, just because it's awesome. I really do like what this deck does. Ooh, that's a Brian of Stout Arm. All right, so I'm going to clue you guys in on a little secret as to what this deck's trying to do, because it's awesome. So our bottom right deck is Tariel, and what it's going to be trying to do this entire game is throw stuff at people's faces. In fact, he might already have a way to kill everybody, or at least us, or somebody on the table. So what this deck does is using cards like Brian of Stout Arm, Cyclonic Rift. Can we cast that? We can cast that. What this deck on our bottom right is going to be doing is using cards like Brian of Stout Arm, Bloodshot Cyclops, and stuff like that to actually throw large creatures at opponents. That could be something from Sarah Avatar to my favorite, which is a 1 and a black for a 3/3 wall, which is probably the card he got. For an 0/3 wall, sorry, that you can pay 1 life to give it +1/+1. I forget the name of the card, but that's the one that's probably going to be coming down. Here we are just going to play Prime Speaker Zegana. I want to draw 4 cards. It's also going to have haste, it can block, and it's our general, which means we can just get it back whenever we want. It does everything we want it to do. So Prime Speaker is going to come down. We have a Witch Stalker here. So enters the battlefield, it's going to get X+1/+1 counters on it, equal to Witch Stalker. Because our opponents can't deal with Witch Stalker, which is great. So we're going to draw 4, get a full hand here. Hopefully draw land, really. If there's one thing that green-blue decks want to do, it's draw lands. But all these cards will be good in the meantime, though. I love Stolen Identity. This is probably... Gosh, I just absolutely love Stolen Identity. This card is awesome. In fact, we may actually make a copy of Hivestone just so we can get these guys' abilities, which would be really cool. Speaking of really cool, I actually want to attack Prime Speaker. Do I want to attack with Prime Speaker or just leave it back? So, since we know what our bottom right player is going to be doing for this game, which is basically a deck that's going to be throwing large creatures at our opponents, we need to put him under pressure quickly, and Brian of Stout Arm is probably one of the better cards for his entire deck, just because he gains the life from the cards he throws. So the question is if we want to attack him with Prime Speaker here, just to deal for general damage, and I think we do. So we're going to send that down to our bottom right player. Also, I'm fine with trading here. Like, so fine with trading here. We can cast our creature whenever we want. He can't. So he's just going to take the 4 damage. We'll be able to pass. I do kind of wish we had gotten a land. One of the reasons why I really wanted a land there is because we could at least leave up Cyclonic Rift in case we need to just rift something out of the way really quickly. Sometimes you don't get to actually just bounce everyone's permanents. Most of the time, you're just kind of stuck with Cyclonic Rift. So our Sliver Legion, still missing out on white mana, does have access to all the black he wants. The number 1 card I'm worried about is honestly Sliver Legion. That card is insane. It's a personal coat of arms for Slivers, which is really awesome. Now the funny thing that I think we're going to end up doing is making a copy of that Hivestone to give turn all of our creatures into Slivers and get a large benefit out of all of the cards in his deck, which would honestly be hilarious. Here comes Krenko. He'll have 4 goblins out. He can make 4 goblins with Krenko's ability. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to make 4 dudes. 4 dudes. Seriously. Also going to turn Horde of Boggers into a 9/9, which is kind of scary. The reason why we're not really doing anything to try and prevent our top right player's expansion of creatures is because we don't care. And what I mean by that is, I'm pretty sure he's dead next turn to Sherlock. Sherlock was able to Demonic Tutor. He's going to be able to block a lot of stuff. We're going to take some damage here. I think this 9/9 is going at us. Oh, it's not? I'd like for it not to go at us. We'll see where the final attacks lie, but I'm definitely on the current board state, I'm not really that scared of our Sliver deck. One of the problems with the Sliver deck is that you can just flood out, and I mean, don't get me wrong, that's every EDH deck ever, but Sliver decks are really prone to it. That's one of the reasons why Sliver Overlord is the common pick for a Sliver General, because Sliver Overlord allows you to. All right, what's coming at us? We've got Boars. Do we want to trade our Witch Stalker for a 1/1? Or do we just want to take 4 and go to 30? I think we'll just go to 30. Like, I'm okay with this. The 9/9 is going at our top left player. Shalak's going to be taking 2 here. Possibly 3 if he wants to sack to the other goblin. So one of the main problems with Sliver decks is that although it is a very good tribal strategy where every single one of your creatures is a lord, you do run into these awkward board situations where when you're playing a non-Sliver Overlord General, you end up just kind of top decking. Like severely top decking and not being able to have a directed way to win the game, really. The Sliver deck, although all your creatures are lords, some of your creatures aren't good lords. Like there's ones that give all your creatures defender, and although you get to draw cards off of it, it's still rather bad. When playing against Sliver deck, there are some specifics that you want to watch out for. Crystalline Sliver and Essence Sliver, ones that give them Shroud and Lifelink respectively, are probably the Slivers I'm the most scared of when it comes to a Sliver deck. And when they hit the battlefield, I try and kill immediately. Let's see what Shalak's going to do here. I'm assuming he can deal someone at least 28 damage. There's the Wall of Blood. This was the spell I was talking about before. It's not even a 3/3, it's an 0/2. 2 and a black for an 0/2 defender. You can pay 1 life to give it +1/+1 until end of turn. He could kill our top left Sliver player this turn with Wall of Blood and Brown and Stout Arm, just throwing it at the top left player without any consequence of life to himself, which is pretty silly. Is he just going to leave it up? He can do it at instant speed. Looks like he's just going to leave it up. Okay. And now we have some considerations here. What do we want to do? We could get Curse of the Swine just to force him to use Bryon here. Basically, we would get back Curse, be able to target 2 creatures, probably hit Bryon and Krenko, force him to use Bryon now. What's the likelihood that he puts us to 2? If we do that, that's the question. So the one thing that I've learned about playing our bottom right deck, because I have played it a bunch of times in stream, is that you just kind of have to force him to do it. If you let him just keep this kind of trigger mechanism on the board, you end up in a situation that's really negative over the long term. We could also force him to do it this turn. And what I mean by that is if we can attack our Prime Speaker into our bottom right player. He'll probably just pump Wall of Blood up enough to be able to block Prime Speaker easily, and then he'll also be forced to use Wall of Blood that turn, which is pretty cool. In fact, if we attack, we can force him, then he has to use Brown this turn. Do we want to force him to use Brown this turn? We're not in a very good situation. I don't know if that's a prudent use of our resources. What do you want to do here? We could just make a copy of Prime Speaker Zegana with Stolen Identity. Draw 5 cards. It's also a possibility. I'm going to put thinking into the chat because we definitely are thinking. Oh, it's going at Krenko. Okay. Where's the actual match? Thinking. Alright. And so if the Wall of Blood's going at Krenko, what do we do this turn? That's a great question. If it's going at Krenko, I want to advance my board state, which includes just playing Deadbridge Goliath and getting back Curse of the Swine. So that's what we're going to do. Does this go in anywhere? He can just sack enough creatures to make it lethal on our Prime Speaker, which is honestly okay. So we're going to send Prime Speaker to our top right player. Do we want it better as a blocker? Yeah, we actually want this as blocker. I lied. Apologies. Don't mean to be untruthful to you guys, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to leave Prime Speaker back. The reason why is it's going to be better as a blocker than it is going to be as an attacker. Attacking into our Goblin Sled Team led player is just going to lead to some bad blood on our side. So this turn we're going to play Deadbridge Goliath and we're going to play our Chaomancer. Our Chaomancer is going to grab... Oh, we have to do this in a different way. welcome to MTGO. We're going to use our Chaomancer to get back Curse of the Swine, so we'll be able to unleash the horde next turn of pigs. Not of like anything really that scary. So our Chaomancer, 2 double blue, enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Totally just realized this is actually not in the current standard, are you? Let me just double check this guy, because I don't think he is. To be very disappointing. No, good. You are in the current standard. Whew, scary there. Alright, let's see what you got, Sliver Legion. Let's see what you got. You got into the land. Congrats. So the reason why I keep harping on Sliver Overlord over Sliver Legion, and the reason why it's probably been the established Sliver General between the 3 legendary creatures, Sliver Legion, Overlord, and Queen, is because Sliver Overlord means that you can never get flooded out. And what I mean by that is, with Sliver Overlord, you can always choose the best Sliver, even ones that draw you cards. You can gain control of your opponent's Slivers. Like, if your opponent decides to use a Hive Stone, like, we won't copy Hive Stone, just because I now remember that Sliver Overlord is an actual spell in that deck. The reason why it's so much better than a card like Sliver Legion or even Sliver Queen, although Sliver Queen is better in certain edge cases, is it has the ability to pay 3 to tutor for a Sliver from your deck, which means you can never get. Number one, you're not restricted to playing a lot of ramp because you want to have a lot of creatures. That's one of the problems that this Sliver deck would have, where you need to play a lot of color-specific ramp cards to make sure you just don't die all the time. With a card like Sliver Overlord, you can play those ramp cards because you know as long as you can catch your general, you can find any Sliver you want and be able to recreate that army at all times, which is great. In fact, one of my favorite cards for that deck is... Actually, I have to make sure. I'm not going to lie to you guys again. Let me double check what this card does. There it is. Wheel of Sun and Moon. Wheel of Sun and Moon for a green, white. If a card we put into an enchanted player's graveyard from anywhere, and instead that card is revealed and put on the bottom of that player's library. The cool part about Wheel of Sun and Moon is that when you have Sliver Overlord in play, you can just... You never tire. you never run out of creatures to kill your opponents with, which is awesome. So your opponent's like, ha, got your Crystalline Sliver. You're like, I'm just going to pay 3 and get it back, which is really, really, really cool. You do have to enchant yourself with it, though, so if you're running Wheel of Sun and Moon, try not to also run Patriarch's Bidding. That'd be kind of embarrassing, I think. Our Goblins are going all out. Shalak's getting some heat here with this Wall of Blood tech, which makes sense. You can put someone to... You can put him to 11. And this is also why we didn't attack him. I don't want to be put to 2. Or, yeah. Be pretty bad for us. So he's going to do a very smart thing here. He's going to double block Horde of Boggart. Horde of Boggart says they need to block by at least 2 or more creatures. Then he's going to use Wall of Blood, throw it at Face Thief, put him to, not 11, to 12. And then we can't finish it off right now. We'd have to draw a specific spell. Well, we could. We can just Cyclonic Rift here. Bounce his entire board and kill him. That's also one of the things we're kind of heading towards. We have the ability to do that pretty simply here. It's one of the powerful parts of Cyclonic Rift. I can tell you that much. So looking at our hand, one of the reasons why I made this deck, explicitly standard EDH deck, was to number one, try out cards from standard EDH that I haven't been able to really try. Cards like Arbor Colossus, that's I think only the second time I've cast Curse of the Swine, and I already love it. But I also want to try out cards like Last Thoughts and Worldspine Worm in decks that aren't specifically tuned for them. I really already don't like Last Thoughts. I think that it has to be specifically in a deck that is made of evasion. Either a Sunquan Lord of Wu deck or the blue-black Dimir Shadow deck that we have. Those are the decks that can use a card like Last Thoughts. This deck can't. We don't have enough cards that have unblockability. Until we get like Aqueous Form, which is also in this deck, and a card I want to try it out, we're not going to really have the chance to use it. So I think the Last Thought's going to be a card we're going to cut to find something else from the blue-green standard to put into here. Now, when looking at getting into EDH, I really do believe that MTGO is probably one of your best avenues. MTGO, a lot of people say, and I kind of agree with this, is kind of like the Halasan days of the early EDH. EDH, when it first came out, or when it first kind of started popping its head into circles that were beyond just judges playing it after events, was an amazing format because you could literally go to your LGS and go through a 50-cent binder bin and just find all the cards you want for your EDH deck and build it then. And I honestly believe that MTGO is that space right now. That I really do believe that MTGO is that 2 year ago EDH area. Games do fire regularly. If you're part of the MTG Radio clan, you'll be able to find games very quickly, actually, which is one of the reasons I was suggested. And building decks has never been cheaper. One of the things that I do on streams and also here on the YouTube channel is I showcase decks that are built for $10 or less on MTGO. This deck is not $10 or less. I want to quickly squash that notion. This is if you already invested in Standard, you can build a CDH deck. But I do have a lot of 10-ticket decks which are made for $10 or less. That's the entire idea behind them. And that's probably one of my favorite things that I've done is the 10-ticket challenge, where you can build a deck on MTGO for $10 or less. Super fun. Absolutely love it. So our opponent's going to throw this wall of blood at our Krenko deck with Brian Stoutarm. He's also going to gain life from the amount of damage he does, because Brian has lifelink, and this is damage, not loss of life, which is very important. So he goes at 12, Shalak's back to 29. You know, how the world should work. So speaking more about getting into EDH and MTGO, it is very, 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 very doable. Like, extremely easy. Again, you can build a competitive EDH deck for $10 or less. That's unheard of in real life. You can't build a deck for $10 in real life unless it's Pauper EDH. And although I like the idea behind Pauper EDH, there's a sad fact that finding people to play Pauper EDH with you in real life is really darn difficult. So for 6 mana, this looks like it might be just some sort of Wrath effect. Austere command destroying all creatures. Alright. That is okay with us. That's one of the reasons why we played Debridge Goliath here, and why we played the earlier Simic Keyroom. Debridge Goliath is going to have that awesome scavenge ability. We'll send our commander to the command zone. And we'll have a lot of really good follow-up, which is awesome for us. We could also animate Simic Keyroom and start getting him at last thoughts. Anybody up for that idea? I don't know why I raised my hand. That's not how that works, but I think it'd be hilarious. More than likely, we're just... Is that a Colonian Hydra? That's a Colonian Hydra. We could just play Colonian Hydra and attack somebody for 8. That's an option. So this is actually really interesting. What do we want to do from here? The challenge we have to go over right now. Who is the deck we're the most scared of, I guess is how words actually work. I think we want to attack Shalak for 8. I'm the most scared of this deck. This is the deck I'm scared of, so that's where I'm going to attack. Our Goblin deck has been stopped immediately, so I'm not really concerned about it. What we're also going to do is we're not going to tap our Simic Keyroom for the mana for this. And the reason why is I kind of want to have a in-hiding creature. So the cool part about Simic Keyroom is that if someone decides to Diabolic Edict us, we can always just animate Simic Keyroom and attack them for a lot of damage. Here we're going to attack Shalak for 8. F6 and pass. So Colonian Hydra for 3 double green is a 0/0, but it enters the battlefield with 4+1/+1 counters on it. It's got Trample, and it's got Haste from Mass Hysteria. Whenever it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters in each creature we control. Our top right opponent's actually just going to F8 here. That's why he tapped the mana. We're not going to F8, just in case we need to put an instant speed creature out with Simic Keyroom, or we want to use Cyclonic Rift. Both possible good things for us. The other cool part, Colonian Hydra, lethal to all players except our Sliver deck next turn, which is, again, really cool. So we'll see how this game progresses. I like our board state. I like what our deck's able to do. We have a lot of We have a lot of spells to interact with any board state that comes up, which is awesome. So we'll see what we can really make from this. I think our top left player, our Sliver deck, is really feeling the burn. Is really, yeah. He's really getting destroyed by not having white mana. Groundshaker Sliver comes down. It's a 5/5. Gives other Slivers you control trample. Really? Not going at us? Yes! Not going at us! Sometimes it all just works for you. He's going to send the 5 damage at our opponent who's at 12. Going to send him all the way down to 7. Alright. I like that. I like that a whole bunch. was also the like we could also play Prime Speaker next turn, attack Prime Speaker into our top left player for 16. Actually, not for 16, for 17 to put him to 2, which could be pretty cool. We have ways to not win the entire game next turn, but pretty much win the entire game next turn. We could also Stolen Identity our own Colonian Hydra, cipher it onto Colonian Hydra, and make another Colonian Hydra. Because that's how the world works. Leyland of Punishment, you don't say. A turn too late, but welcome on the battlefield. Leyland of Punishment, 2 double red for a rare enchantment. If it's in your opening hand, you can begin the game with it on the battlefield. Players can't gain life, and damage can't be prevented. Just a slap in the face. A slap in the face. A slap in the face of our bottom right deck. Literally no stirring him. No stirring him for almost the rest of the game. Very important, if our opponent plays Tariel, we have to... Oh, we can't bounce it without the trigger going off, which is kind of scary. So, what could he even get? He can get Slivers. He can get Goblins. He can get... Archaeomancer would be the scariest thing out of our graveyard, I think. Yeah, that's about it. What's also interesting is we could scavenge onto our Colonian Hydra here, if we really want to go all in on Colonian Hydra, that is. And then use that scavenged Colonian Hydra to be able to attack in for a game on our Sliver deck, or pretty much game on anybody else. The one thing that our top right deck is doing is he's tapping out of red mana. You can tell he's been stuck on 3 this entire game. He's been able to function on less than 3, but he's been stuck on 3, which really sucks for a deck like his. So that's negative aspect of something going on. It's possibly he's not playing enough lands. It's also possibly just not getting a good draw. And for 1 mana, I think he's just going to tap out and pass. He is. So he is open for death. Let's see what Sherlock has. If he wraths the board again, we can still attack in for at least 6, which is nice. And let's see what happens. A lot of things can happen. Anything could happen, you could say. I wouldn't be surprised to just see Tariel come down. Tariel may be one of his best plays. It's a 4/7. It can get another creature out immediately. I don't know who wins between us and just Sherlock. I think it's a really big toss-up. So if he does just play Tariel, what's nice is that we know all information on the board. That's amazingly good for us. And we probably would just Stolen Identity or Colonian Hydra, just so we can attack with it. The cool part about doing that is that you get double the triggers, and the second Colonian Hydra becomes a 16, and this just becomes monstrous, to say the least. So if he just plays Tariel, he's pretty much dead on board. Well, not pretty much. He's dead on board. We kill 2 people and we're left with Slivers, so we're crossing our fingers that he only casts Tariel. That way we're able to win this game. If he casts a Wrath effect, it's not as good for us, obviously, but we'll slap him for 6 for insolence, I guess. I don't know. We're also going to remove auto yields here. I don't want to lose the game because I'm accidentally yielding to something I'm not yielding to. We have Consuming Vapors targeting us. Okay, so yeah. This is why we left up Simic Kieran. We're going to turn our Simic Kieran into a crab in response. So we can sacrifice it to Consuming Vapors. Also, so he doesn't gain 8 life, which is important. Yep, Kieran goes away. Alright, you have 3 mana left. Alright. So we could just attack him with Colonian Hydra. There's 2 methods of thought here. There's the clone Colonian Hydra in the face of any removal spell of all time. Or the attack with Colonian Hydra into Sherlock and then just play a spell afterwards. I don't think I'm that worried about our top left or top right player. So here I'm just going to attack Sherlock and not get blown out by not resolving. Actually, we can just do this. We're going to make a copy of Lightning Greaves. Right? That still seems pretty bad. So we could make a copy. So Stolen Identity makes a copy of target artifact or creature, which is really great. What we could do is we can make a copy of... We have a couple of choices. If we make a copy of Colonian Hydra, we can kill our top right and bottom right player. If we make a copy of Lightning Greaves, we're a bit safer, but only to a spell like Condemn, and that's it. We're not safer to any sort of targeted removal, which is what our bottom right player is representing by leaving up this type of mana. Um, so do we want to go conservative or do we want to go all out? And I think what I want to do this turn, even though we won't be able to use the line identity, is to just attack our bottom right player for 8. Or for 16, really. It doesn't get rid of our top left or top right player and is the more conservative play, but I think it's the correct one. I don't want to get blown out. This route doesn't get destroyed by removal as much, which is really important. We have tapped mana. If he has Condemn, we should have went the Lightning Greaves route, but I don't think there's any way to really see that. Is that game? Just messing with you. Good game. Whew. Alright, so we got our bottom right player out, which was the player we're the most concerned about. We can overrun both our top right and top left player here. So we still have 7 mana up. What do we want to do with that? And the number one thing I want to do is just put a huge dude on the battlefield. There's no reason to use Curse of the Swine right now. And we'll still be able to leave up single bounce spell with Cyclonic Rift. If you've watched our videos a lot, or my videos a lot, you'll notice that I'm a very conservative player when it comes to advantageous board positions. And what I mean by that is that we're clearly the number one player on this board. Like, no question, we're the person to be scared of on this board state. I don't want to lose the game. So the reason why I didn't go for the Stolen Identity plan is that if he had a removal spell for a Colonian Hydra, that means that we don't lose the game, but we're in such a negative position that it's not worth it to try. There's a Spectral Sliver, actually a very interesting spell. For 2 mana, all slivers can get +1. Basically, it allows you to pump your slivers for 2. Which, if we get attacked by this 5/5, we don't care because we're at 30. It's actually going in at the Face Thief. Oh, he wants to put him in the ground. Face Thief going to sleep here. If you don't Wrath there, do you still get hit? Yeah, I know your deck a little too well. Alright, we're going to give him a good game as well. There goes our Goblin player. Only ever drew 4 lands, which is not good for him. Then we'll kill this guy. That's definitely game. There goes Krenko. It's us versus Slivers. I think we got this one. Wrapped up with Colonian Hydra. Colonian Hydra definitely putting in a lot of work here. And would have been very synergistic if we could have made extra Colonian Hydras and gotten extra triggers, of course. Our bottom right player is mentioning that he had all the pieces, but not enough time to tax them, and I definitely agree. The Goblin deck was rather aggressive. Welcome to Goblins. We'll see if our top left opponent just yields or decides to play something else. Looks like he's just going to pass us. We have game on board. We're not going to mess with it. We're just going to attack. There's no one of the things I really dislike when it comes to multiplayer games are people that just take more time. I don't see the purpose in extending the game here when we obviously have the way to win on board. So we got a 32-32 Trampler, we got a 6-6 Attacker. We didn't get backlashed, which was nice, and there's no reflect damage right now. Uh-oh. What's this? Flash Sliver? What are you doing to me, bro? Nothing. Alright, good game. Good game. And we'll take the win there. So, I do really like this deck, and I think it's kind of strong. I'll have the deck list for this deck posted below the video. If you want some more information on this deck, I'll go through it kind of quickly right now. I don't really want to go all the way through it. There's some cards. Once again, this deck is more of a testing ground than anything else. There's a lot of cards I've been wanting to try out in certain situations. Like, we're playing Phantom Warrior. Let's be honest with ourselves. The main strength of this deck, and the reason why I'm using Prime Speaker Zegana as a general, is that it's very good at refilling its hand quickly. Prime Speaker Zegana does a great job of refilling a hand, and since our cards are honestly a little bit weaker than our opponents, Prime Speaker Zegana is always there to pull us back into the game, which is frankly awesome. Some other cards that I found have been very good. Glaring Spotlight's been an all-star for this deck. It's a card that I've been playing a lot more in recent builds of very aggressive decks, and it's just been awesome. For 1 mana, you don't really care about the creatures your opponents control with Hexproof can be the target. You care about the 3 mana ability. You can sacrifice it to have creatures you control gain Hexproof until end of turn. It can't be blocked this turn. It's a very good falter effect, gives all your creatures unblockability, and for a deck that has Prime Speaker Zegana, it can get big very quickly and very easily. This is the kind of build I want. Um, just want to focus on one more card really quickly, and that one is going to be. Actually, I don't know. I think that might just be it. Yeah, that's just it. I did want to talk about Bluster Squall for a sec. I love the Overlord ability on this, and you'll see that we have a similar effect in Gridlock as we do Bluster Squall. These two cards have just been very good for me. I've found them to just like these 3 cards really, Glaring Spotlight, Gridlock, and Bluster Squall have won me so many more games than they have any right to do. They just they're tricks your opponents don't expect, and I found them to be very strong in a current EDH metagame, I will say, that revolves around playing a lot of really big creatures. Sometimes all you need to do is Bluster Squall your opponent's creatures down, and you can kill somebody in a second, which is awesome. Our creature does a very good job of playing good spells. And Bramble Crush is a card that does not see enough play. So just your daily Bramble Crush reminder, this card exists, and it's very good. With that, I'm going to head off. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can check me out live at twitch.tv/mtgradio. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from 7:30 to 11. You can check me out there. Additionally, I'll still post videos here. I'm going to be going to nursing school starting January 15th. So the rate of the schizophrenic updates that I already post will definitely decrease as we're streaming. So I'm going to try and pump out as many videos as I can before that date hits. In the meantime, I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you for tuning in.